guys, this is Yoda. So Blizzard recently announced the full Season 3 dungeon pool, which is an indicator that PTR is coming soon. God bless. Expect to see me on that as soon as it comes out. Many hours a day. I'll be testing all of these dungeons, testing all the new tier sets or whatever, so stay tuned for that. For now, we're going to go over the dungeons. So we have Dawnbreaker and Ara-Kara from Season 1, Floodgate and Priory from Season 2. One new dungeon, Ecodome, so we don't know too much about that, but we will be testing it. And from Shadowlands, we have Halls of Atonement and both Tazavesh dungeons, which are fan favorites for many people. Very happy with this dungeon pool. I think these three are probably the best Shadowlands dungeons they could bring back. Hopefully, we're done with Shadowlands dungeons after this. Hopefully no Plaguefall. Surely. Anyway, these are two pretty good dungeons from Season 2. Hopefully, they change a couple things, which we'll go over soon. But overall, this dungeon pool makes me very happy. I think they were chosen, by the way, because of a poll. And everyone who voted in this poll was kind of hoping for good trinkets, like Dawnbreaker has the Empowering Crystal of Anubicage for Agi and Int users. Ara-Kara has the Sack Brood for everyone. Floodgate has the Crit Trinket for Agility and Strength users. Priory has Signet of the Priory and the Tome for tanks. But yeah, anyway, this has been announced. We're going to go over what I hope to see changed in the future. Hopefully, like, it shows up on the PTR. So, back in the game, we're going to open MDT here. Looking at Priory first is the one that I think could do with the most change. So a couple things I would like to see change is, number one, these casters are way too efficient, which is kind of makes the dungeon more favorable for tanks with AoE interrupts, or specifically for Moonkin. You're capable of like AoE stopping or silencing a large pack of casters for a long period of time, then your class is very good in Priory of the Sacred Flame. And as we're going to go over, the main reason for that is that these casters are worth way too much count for no health. So as you can see, compared to a footman, this footman is worth 3 count, and it has 50% more health than every caster, which is worth 6 count. So it is 6 times, I think, maybe 4.5 times. Hold on, so it's double, so that's already twice, and then times 1.5, so it's 3 times. Never mind, it's only 3 times. It's 3 times more efficient to play a caster than a footman. So if you're able to deal with multiple casters at the same time, then that's how you get your count in Priory of the Sacred Flame. So something I'm hoping for is that maybe they nerf the count on these casters and buff the count on the footman. Also, this ability, Defend, should probably only work on the footman itself. It should not like do an AoE thing. It should only work on the footman itself, in my opinion, because that makes these footmen terrible to play, and they're just littered throughout the entire dungeon. So kind of sucks that you have to just like avoid them if you want to play efficiently. Another thing I hope they change is these knights. So this knight, if you see, it has 445 million. I don't know how accurate this is, but I think it's pretty accurate. The knight is 445 million, and the light spawn also is 445 million. So on the surface, they're basically the same balance-wise. However, the light spawn dies at 25% to cast Burst of Light. So all you have to do is move the mobs out of it, and you basically get a 25% of the mob's health for free. On top of that, Light Spawn only has one ability, Purification Increase, deals 230,000 holy damage for 6 seconds, every 1 second. Compare that to the Knight, which has 2 abilities. Number 1, which is Impale, which does, less damage per second, but it lasts 18 seconds. So it's doing more total damage than the Purification, and it also has Disrupting Shout, which is doing an AoE hit to everyone. Also, this ability has 100% uptime, so in comparison, these knights are terrible to play. Something I would like to see changed is maybe they nerf the duration of this Impale, like half it, so you basically have half time when it's on, half time when it's off. And maybe also nerf the damage of Disrupting Shout. I know there was recently a movement to get rid of a Shadow Meld in this game, or at least in dungeons, because it's too OP. Well, before they remove Shadow Meld, I think they need to balance the mobs that are actually in the dungeons. Something that would go a long way is balancing the light spawns and the knights. Also, please nerf these casters. I'm going to say it again. Look at this route. Every poll is just like, oh look, there's all these casters that are insanely efficient in count. Let's just play 5 of them in the pack, because we have VDH and Moonkin. Oh look, another poll with 4 casters. Oh look, another poll with 5 casters, But basically, every decision you make is to pull as many casters as possible and play a comp that can interrupt them all. That's how you do Priory of the Sacred Flame efficiently. Another thing I hope they change is these War Lynxes. This I feel like is kind of a bug, so it should be fixed. This Pounce targets players, but mages mirror images count as players. And it picks the furthest person. So if a mage mirror images away from the dogs and then everyone stands in melee, then the dogs just act like target dummies for the full minute that mirror images are out. So that, in my opinion, is a bug. Surely it will be fixed in Season 2. Surely. Otherwise, it's another mage season for sure. Guaranteed. One other thing, it's actually really annoying, by the way, playing this dungeon without a mage. Like, if you have, like, an Ellie Shaman, every time you pull these dogs, everyone is just in pure pain. Another thing I hope they change is this first boss. I feel like it's a little bit too challenging for tanks that do not have self-sustain. This season, this dungeon basically retired, like, by itself. This dungeon retired my Prot Paladin. I was like, why would I play Prot Paladin when I could get to Priory Sacred Flame and I just need to be carried through the first boss, compared to a VDH, which requires 0 healing. I hope they nerf this bleed somehow. I don't know what they need to do. But yeah, I would hope they nerf this going into the next season. These Paladins, AoEs, honestly, at this point in the season, there's been so much prog on this pole that I guess it's kind of playable the way these Paladins are, but I think it could probably also use a nerf, considering that most groups basically do the first part of the dungeon as long as they have a clean stop rotation. It's pretty easy. As long as your tank is playing VDH, the first boss is easy. Then you get here and every group just progs like, 2 hours or many hours in a row, playing this lust pull over and over again, trying to do the correct rotation until everyone has figured it all out. So I think this could probably use a nerf. The rest, I think, is kind of chill. Maybe some things on the right side could be nerfed, but honestly, if they nerf the knight, then if they nerf the knights, then already the right side is way more playable. So yeah, I think those are the biggest changes I hope to see in Priory. In Floodgate, I think not much needs to be changed. Maybe they need to make bubbles more worth it. This mob is worth 20 count. By the way, 20 count is worth like 4 small mobs, or like 3 of these guys plus 2 small mobs is worth the same as bubbles. So there is absolutely no way bubbles is worth it. Maybe they need to make him worth way more count, or nerf the damage he does, or give him less health, or something. Some way. Maybe if you could like play bubbles with this pack, maybe that would be fine. But right now he's like way too hard of a heal check to play with this pack, so they need to do something about him. Make him easier, less health, more count, something that makes him more worth it. The rest of the dungeon honestly seems kind of fine. It's like fun, I think. A lot of the skips are kind of annoying. I hope they'd change these architects. Maybe they could start not on the scaffoldings, especially this particular architect. If you want to skip him, his spawn is RNG, so like you can or cannot invis through the stairs based on where he's spawning. Maybe they could just remove True Sight from the architects. That would actually be a really, really good change, in my opinion. That's pretty much all I'm really hoping for from Floodgate. This dungeon is a banger. Hopefully the new dungeon is as much of a banger. Heading into Season 1, so we're getting Dawnbreaker and Ara-Kara. These 2 dungeons are pretty nice. The only thing I'm hoping for in Ara-Kara really is these mobs, Grasping Slash. This ability is extremely like annoying for a lot of tanks. It says a 30% slow, but actually it goes up to 90% if you get 3 stacks. It says it stacks, it lasts 16 seconds. So if your tank does not have a way to clear the slow, then he's basically slowed by 90% guaranteed. And also there's these mobs that are right next to him. They cast Erupting Webs, which is like you have to dodge. But by the way, your tank is slowed by 90%, so good luck. So any tank that cannot purge the slow is basically SOL. So I mean, this season we all played Prot Paladin, so it was chill. Blood Decay is kind of chill because it cannot be slowed too much, but certain tanks like Bear, which cannot really shift out of Bear, especially if you're playing what everyone plays, which is EC. The Moon Bear cannot shift out of Bear without basically dying, so Bear is kind of fucked on this. And Warrior is also randomly has a very hard time on this. You have to play like Short Leap, and then your ally has to stand in the correct area to be intervened. So I hope they cap this at 30% or something, because it's just randomly hard for certain tanks for no reason, in my opinion. One other thing I hope they change in this dungeon is this Trilling Attendant has Web Bolt and Resonating Barrage, and apparently they're on 2 different schools of magic. So you kick Web Bolt, and then it starts channeling Resonant Barrage, then you kick Resonant Barrage, then it starts casting Web Bolt again. So I hope they put them like on the same school, so one kick can like maybe it'll move in after 1 kick instead of needing 3 kicks. That would be nice. This Extraction Strike, the only thing I hope they change about this is that it casts immediately when you pull the mob. So for instance, if you're playing Prot Paladin in this season and I throw my shield at this instead of this, then before my shield bounces to this assistant, it can already cast Extraction Strike on my ally. I think that is ridiculous. Also, Extraction Strike for some reason has 40-yard range. They should probably nerf that too, but big thing would be if it doesn't cast it immediately on pull, so it's a little bit more forgiving with how you tag the pack. Yeah, that's one thing I hope for. Thunder was pretty good. That's pretty much all I really want from it to be changed. In Dawnbreaker, it's pretty much a similar request with these Umbral Rushes. I have a feeling they're going to nerf this anyway, since this is one of the abilities that basically they highlighted when they wanted to change how easy the dungeons were for tanks. But basically it's a 50-yard tank buster that inflicts basically lethal damage to your tank if they don't have a cooldown, and it's parryable and dodgeable, and it just casts on like an extremely low cooldown. Also, it casts immediately when you pull it. I remember specifically in the lust pull in this dungeon, which we were lusting this pull. I tagged this pack. You see how there's two mobs, right? The Shadowwalker and the Darkcaster. The Shadowwalker is the one that casts Umbral Rush. If I tagged this Darkcaster with Avenger's Shield, then this Shadowwalker would Umbral Rush my healer. That is how fast it casts it on pull. Also, it has 60 yards, by the way. 60 yards. What the fuck? Okay, anyway, so I hope they either reduce the... it's like a rush, so probably not reducing the range, but please don't have this cast immediately on pull. That is, like, it's maybe like just 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds to get aggro on it before it just instantly kills my healer. Also, they're probably going to nerf it if I had to guess. The rest of this dungeon was kind of nice. Like, obviously it has its tough heal checks, its tough tank checks, but such is life. That's what we play dungeons for. Alright, looking at Shadowlands. Halls of Atonement was a massive banger. People really like this dungeon. I'm glad they're bringing it back. Really not much I would change. I do have a sneaking suspicion that they're going to make us play this area, which everyone skipped. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, this was a fan favorite for a lot of people. I'm excited to see it again. Tazavesh Streets. The only thing I hope they change about this is they make the RP shorter. Like this area, you had to like walk in and then AFK for like 30 seconds before the fight actually starts. So what you would do is you would kill the first boss, and then you would enter this area, and your whole group would like split up and search for clues, with like people just starting RP in different areas of the dungeon, and then you would finally get to play the dungeon like 1 minute later. I feel like they should just make all of the RPs active at the start, but I don't know if they're gonna actually do that. In Gambit, honestly, not much to ask for. Gambit is an amazing dungeon. The start of the dungeon, one thing that I hope they will not do, which they might do, just knowing Blizzard, is these scale binders have an ability called Invigorating Fish Stick as a 1.5 second cast. If you did not stop this, it would summon a healing totem, which had very large range and basically just full healed the whole pack every global. So you would assign one of these to every single one of your melees because you were playing Survival Hunter this season, and they would have to stop it, otherwise it's GG, go next run. And it would not recast. I have a feeling, a sneaking suspicion they're going to make it recast, which means I hope they nerf the fish stick somehow, like make it lower range, or just keep it not recasting. One of those would be nice. Alright, that is my review for the new dungeon set. Thank you all for watching. Peace out.